Welcome back to another Pulls and Pickups. This is Pulls and Pickups number 11, I believe. Starting off, we have Marvel back issues is what we're going to start off with. We have Justice, kind of a weird spelling there, the way it's, the lettering is. And this is part of the New Universe line, which was a kind of, originally it was going to be a total relaunch of the Marvel Universe in 1986, but it was delayed because there was a lot of concerns as to whether it would jeopardize the success of their other books, Marvel's other books at the time. So instead of relaunching their universe, they created a new universe, hence the title New Universe. And there were, I believe, 8 titles, I believe. I'll put it on screen correction if I'm wrong, but and these titles were basically new issues that were made to kind of start a whole new Marvel line, so to speak. And they weren't all superhero related. A lot of them weren't, interestingly. That's kind of the main thing to take away from this, other than the fact that it failed. It came out in 1986, and most of the books were done by 87, somewhere around there, if I remember correctly. Justice went on for longer than that. Still didn't go on for that long, but it went on for a number of years. And here's the first issue, and I don't want to cover it for too long, but basically it's quite comedic. It's almost like the Terminator meets like a out of this world kind of alien story. He's an alien from a different planet. He has amnesia and doesn't know where he came from, and he has a lot of the jokes and kind of humor, at least that I got from it, are very Terminator-like. Right after he kills some bad guys, he picks up their glasses and their shades or whatever and puts them on. I can just feel the music playing, as you can see right there. And as he walks across the city, people say, "Oh, you can't do that," and he'll just, like push him aside and stuff. So he's very brutish in both his design, but also that's kind of, again, where the humor and kind of the charm comes from. He slowly learns more elements as the issues continue of what it's like to be human and all that crap. But that's really not the main draw. The main draw for me is the art is enjoyable, but on top of the art being enjoyable, I also just thought that the whole, comedic elements and kind of the cliches are played real well here. It's nothing you haven't seen, but this is issue 2. It's nothing you haven't seen, but it's doesn't need to be, really. It's enjoyable for being cliche because it's well done. And on top of that, issue 2, definitely the action and kind of the mystery starts picking up as to why he's here, who gave him amnesia, and there's basically these other alien creatures that are after him. And yeah. And there's he's hitting on the agent, not officer, I should say. She's and here we have issue 3. Issue 3 is really when things pick up. Before that, I was kind of second guessing myself, but then I remembered, oh yeah, I got these for $1, so I like that cover. Cool cover for sure. So yeah, for $1, these are definitely worth it, especially once you get to issue 3. That's when the action really starts picking up, and you kind of things start to become more defined. The main bad guy, you kind of get his incentives and the reason why he's after Justice. You slowly are, between these issues, 3 issues so far, you've slowly kind of learned more and more of his backstory. It starts out with like nothing, and you slowly learn more and more, and at first it just kind of felt like a way to pad out things, to not kind of tell you the full story right away. But once we get to this point, you kind of start to realize that it's a good kind of pacing device, you could say. Right when things are starting to get kind of slow, then the next thing you know, you get some more backstory as to who Justice is. That's our main man. He's I think it's called a Justice Officer is what he calls himself, or a Justice Defender or something. Something like that. On his homeworld, he's like a warrior of justice, I guess you could say. And yeah, it's very cliche. It's silly. It's kind of played seriously, but it's not serious at all. But for the cheap price that I got it for, $1 for each issue, these are definitely worth picking up if you're into really, it's a slow week, you don't have a lot to read, or if you're really hankering for some old comics, pick up these for cheap if you can find them. If you're into B movies and things like the Terminator and kind of cheesy action movies, it's not to the same extent. It's not as ballistic or anything, sadly, but still a good time. Definitely if you're into kind of dark comedy and cheesy schlock, I guess you could say. Here we have moving on to Marvel's new issues that came out that week, which was last week, I believe. We had Daredevil issue 29. This was a good issue, but my problem with the issue is that Daredevil really has been top notch from issue 1 all the way to issue 29 here. There's been a few hiccups, but for the most part it's been very top notch. This might be the worst issue I've read in this run so far, and that's saying a lot because things have been awesome since then, and this was still a good issue, but it was only good. It really felt like a cleaning house issue. I keep saying issue. It really feels like it's cleaning house as opposed to really building things up, and I think I feel that way because that's okay once in a while, but it feels like we already the plot elements that are here that it's developing, we already have known about for quite a while. Daredevil's in prison, people are trying to I guess I can say that. People are trying to kill him basically in prison and off him because, of his reputation. We already knew that. We already knew that like 5 issues ago. He's been in prison for like 5 issues so far. We already knew that everybody was kind of out to get him and had their different reasons to hate him. So it's not too much of a reveal. Elektra took up the mantle of Daredevil. That's been happening. His Daredevil's twin brother is taken up the mantle of Matt Murdock and is pretending to be him and filling in for him basically, so it doesn't seem as if Matt just disappeared right when Daredevil went to prison to kind of keep his identity still a secret. But we already knew all this stuff. We've known this stuff for many issues now. There's some more developments in terms of Wilson Fisk and his plan to kind of remove Elektra as Daredevil once and for all, and we learn exactly who wants to kill him specifically in prison, who wants to kill Matt Murdock, Daredevil here, and there's some cool fights and things, but the issue doesn't really push things forward as much as I'd want. I think the big issue is that not necessarily Chip Zdarsky, he's been doing a fantastic job, but I think the main problem is that the King in Black issues came out, issues, 27? How many times have I said issues so far? 27 and 28 of Daredevil were the King in Black tie-ins, and they kind of slowed things down a bit, and he handled them the best he could, but it seems as if they didn't happen, it seems as if we would have been farther in the story. Again, not bad, but things could be moving at a better pace, and it feels like we're still kind of stuck on the same thing we've known about for multiple issues now. Again, not bad at all. I love the artwork, the writing in terms of like reflecting back different kind of motifs between the three characters we have, kind of plot lines we have going. We have Elektra, and she's taken up that orphan from the last issue that now orphan because her parents died during King in Black. Has taken the orphan under her wing basically and is training her to be a fighter just like she was. Daredevil's in prison, like I said, that whole arc or storyline, and then Wilson Fisk trying to take back control over his life and finally finish off Daredevil, and you would say Elektra really, once and for all, and finish this business. But we've known about that for so long, so good, but kind of a disappointment that it's kind of treading over old ground we've known about, but that's okay. Thor issue 14. This week wasn't nearly as good as the week prior. There were a lot of cool issues that came out. Like, I was excited. I'm like, oh, Daredevil, that's awesome. Oh, it wasn't as good as I had hoped. Still good, but not as good as I had hoped. Thor issue 14. Oh, this is a great conclusion. Oh, but then there's that ending. If you've read this or you've heard anything about this latest issue, for those that very adamantly follow comic news, there's a lot of people that are dogging on this ending, and sadly, I really have been a proud supporter of the series. I've been really liking it so far. That ending, it's good up until then, but that ending, oh man, it totally just like spits on what the story arc has been leading up to. It's weird. It feels like a cop-out, but I'll get to that. This is the final conclusion to Prey. everybody's fighting against Donald Blake. Thor has used his soul. The Ravens have taken his soul out of his body, have taken over the Destroyer, which I read some issues to get me hyped about who the Destroyer is and everything. It's basically body armor that Odin had created that's kind of the ultimate weapon to, in last case scenario, for the Asgardians, if they're losing, if they really need one final push to take, back whatever's happening to win the battle. This is their ace in the hole, the Destroyer. And in this case, Thor, like I said, has enchanted the Destroyer in order to fight Donald Blake. And these are spoilers, but I'll make a tag for this. Odin's come back and he's kicking Donald Blake's butt, and it's an awesome fight. It's actually a little bit less. It's more kind of one-handed. It's more on the side of them, fighting Donald Blake as opposed to Donald Blake fighting back for the most part in this issue. But really, it's a great continuation action-wise of issue 13. It's a great continuation of that. We get to see some cool fights with Beta Ray Bill, and that's awesome. Doctor Strange even gets to get in a few shots, and it's great. We also have this scene towards the end here where Donald Blake is, tied up by an enchantment done by Doctor Strange, and Odin comes up with his, new awesome armor, and Donald Blake basically is, crying and telling them, fine, finish me off, unmake me, I was a mistake, and that, you need... unmake me, end my suffering, so to speak. And it's a sad scene, and just makes you kind of really sympathize with Donald Blake. He did horrible things, as you saw through these past issues, if you watched me cover them, or if you know what's been going on in this arc. But nonetheless, you understand why he is the way he is. He was tossed aside when he wasn't needed anymore. He was a creation by Odin that was... that wasn't needed. He was a creation. He was made. His life was only existed to teach Thor a lesson, and because of that, and because of the fact that he was locked in that dimension, like I said, for a long stretch of time, and was basically lied to about what his reality is. Everything he knew was a facade made to just kind of keep him in perpetuity, and once he figured that out, he snapped, and it's come full circle. He's finally going to be unmade, so to speak. But right before that happens, Thor steps in and says that it's his job to take care of Donald, not Odin's, because Odin, relinquished the crown to Thor. So I agree. Thor just claims how it's his job to take care of Donald Blake, and so you think, okay, so Thor's going to unmake him. Nope. He asks Doctor Strange to release him from his bonds, and talks about how he's a brother of him, and that he has a piece of him. Piece of Donald is within Thor as well, and that they're one and the same. They're brothers, both of Odin, and that he deserves peace and to be forgiven and all that. But he says also, but then again, I've never been above hurting my brothers when they fall out of line. No, wait, So basically he, annihilates him in a way. He's still alive at the very end, because I guess he still has some life left in him. Barely, though, as you can see. Just totally annihilates him, which kind of feels weird, because it's like what was the point of that speech? It's supposed to be a twist for the readers, I guess, but... I don't know, that felt out of place, but it gets worse. Then, as he's, left there, electrified and stunned on the Rainbow Bridge, Loki comes up from behind and, asks what's going on. And Thor says that he's giving Donald Blake to Loki, and says that he's done with him. He's done what he wanted to do. So all he wanted to do was to take him from Odin, deal with him himself, and all that means is to... electrify him and then give him to Loki. He barely did anything. And then on top of that, he gives him to Loki and asks what he'll do with him. And he says, brother, you asked me to lie for you once. Tell me, do you want me to lie to you now? So that what he's going to do to him isn't good. The readers know that. Thor knows that. Why did he do it? Why did he let this happen? And then you cut to these two panels, and Loki has basically locked him up and is going to be torturing him for, seemingly eternity, and also gave him the name of, this is kind of the key thing. So that's horrible to begin with. He's being tortured for, however many eons, in perpetuum, until he gets loose. And why I think he's going to be able to get loose is because Thor specifically says that he's also, Loki talked about earlier in this arc, he talked about how he's giving up being the god of lies, and that he's going back to being, I think it was the god of tricks, I think it was. But basically he's turning over a new leaf, and he's not going to be as evil as he was before. And he says that he's giving, here we see that he's giving Donald Blake the title of the king of lies, or the god of lies, right? And you want to be real. Yeah, you're the god of lies. Ever shall you reign. What? I get that he's a horrible person, but are we seriously going to say that it's okay to torture somebody that caused problems just because, like, he should be killed? I mean, but not tortured. I mean, come on. Or locked up somewhere? Is he going to be, why not lock him up somewhere forever? Why not, unmake him? He never was supposed to exist to begin with. He was a pawn in Odin's, punishment for Thor. Honestly, he shouldn't have existed to begin with. He knew that. That's what caused his madness. Why not unmake him? Why torture him? It doesn't make sense unless Donnie, my only guess, I mean, I talked about this with some people online. You can click the card in the description, or the link in the description below, to hear more about it, but about me talking with people about it and what people are saying. But it's just really sad, and the only guess I have is that Donny Cates simply didn't want to end it with, Donald Blake is one of the, most awesome villains we've had that I've read in Thor. And he didn't want to end it, so he left it this way, so the door was open and he could bring back Donald Blake whenever he wanted to in the future. But that's not a reason to, it just really spits on the whole arc, and it's sad, man. I mean, I really liked everything up to that ending. It still doesn't ruin it for me like it does for some people. Some people say that it actually ruined it for them, but I'm just going to pretend that this ending doesn't exist, and it makes me once again kind of fearful for the future, because I wonder if Donnie is just going to, like I said, use this as an excuse to bring back Donald once again and have a whole nother, 6-issue arc, and then, is that going to end on a cliffhanger as well? Will we finally get the ending we deserved? If we get the ending that we deserve, then why didn't we just get it before, just so he can stretch this out? He's a creative mind, he did fantastic work with Venom, as far as I know. I haven't read it. He's doing a great job with Thor. And he's a renowned writer, so it doesn't seem like he needs to do this, but I guess he wants to, because it's an easy way to, milk the character, I guess. I don't know. I really don't. If there's a real reason why he did it, other than that, if there's a different reason, I'd love to hear it. But I'm trying to speculate. I've heard and talked to people about it on Polls and Pickups, and on Comic Geeks, and I've read about it, and I just can't think of another reason why he would end it that way. It seems, again, Odin was going to unmake him. Why? Why didn't they just, they had it, they had the ending, and then, literally in 2 or 3 pages, they totally switched it and ruined it. I don't know. I gotta move on. Nonstop Spider-Man issue 2. This was another disappointment. It wasn't horrible. It didn't, piss me off like Thor did. It just kind of disappointed me. I don't know. Issue 1, I didn't like that much either, but it had promise. I was thinking, it has to go up from here, but it didn't. It seemed to have gotten worse. I think that was because instead of, I don't even remember her name, and I don't care. Instead of the other woman that was following Peter around, we have this girl, and one of my main problems with both of these issues is the writing style. It's very hip and modern. It uses a ton of lingo and slang, and it just gets annoying and hard to kind of follow. a lot of totallys and literallys, and I don't know. It's just it's not good. It's shorthand kind of writing. I mean, you can read some of it here. I was going to, but I'm not going to embarrass myself. It's just not good, and it's even worse with this character. And on top of that, before I was having problems, but I'm especially having problems in this issue with just following the action. I mean, you go from here to here to here, and then this almost looks like it carries over. It doesn't. Then you got to go back up here. It's all slanted. That's not as bad. But then when you get to a page like this, there's just so much going on. You go from panel, 9 grid there, 11 panels there. It goes along. There's just so much. It's split up so much into tiny panels, and there's a lot of text going on, but in a way it doesn't. The story, like I said, I don't like, or the writing style, I should say. The story is just kind of generic. Drugs throughout the city. Drugs are bad. Drug overdoses. Kids are taking drugs, and instead of figuring out some kind of cool reveal that actually kind of makes the plot deeper, all we figure out for the most part is that, before in the last issue, we kind of, this is some spoilers, but I don't know if you exactly care. So light spoilers, but in issue 1, we figured out that Hydra is somehow involved in Baron Zemo, and Baron Zemo's portrayal was just horrible. And now we figure out, your suspicions. What you knew was correct. What we told you wasn't a lie. The Hydra is involved. What a reveal! We knew that a month ago. So if that's not meant to be a reveal, then, what's the point of dwelling on it? I don't know. And on top of that, this is another example of it. The blurring effects make it hard to. I like the blurring effects at first, but after I'm starting to think about its practicality, it's hard to actually tell what's going on, especially when things are split up into small panels like this. And the way it's just laid out is just kind of hard to follow from text box to text box. And the whole thing just feels clunky, I guess I would say. Like I said, I didn't like the plot that well, and the inclusion of Hydra seems like a cool idea at first, but they didn't do anything with it, and it's a reveal that we already knew a month ago, so the fact that they dwelled on it as being the big reveal in this issue doesn't mean anything, because we already knew it, so it wasn't a reveal. And since that was the only big reveal in this issue, then this issue didn't have any reveals. It didn't have any interesting new developments, really. There were small things. Supposedly the drugs are being used to take intelligence from the people that they're being given to people that aren't white, okay? They're being dealt, and they're trying to target people that aren't white for some reason. I don't know why other people that are white aren't taking the drugs. I don't know why. It feels like the Hydra stuff, they could do so much with it, right? Oh, they're including Hydra into the story. Oh, are they going to have Captain America show up? Are they going to have some kind of, callbacks to, actual events? You know what I mean? Is the Red Skull gonna pop up? That would be awesome. No, it seems like it's just a way to, I have no clue. But it's just another comic trying to throw in racial elements, and, white people are trying to poison black people and make them look bad because they're racist. That's the story, and they're Hydra. That's what Hydra does. But it just kind of comes off as it's so overdone already as it is, with a lot of SJW content that's coming out from both companies and even indies. But on top of that, the fact that this was a story that didn't need this or at all, and you couldn't have saw this coming at all. It was just drugs. But now they have to, in this issue, they had to show, oh no, it's not just drugs. It's not just the moral of the story isn't drugs are bad. The moral of the story is don't be racist, because racists are trying to only give drugs to people that are, not white. I don't know. It's just weird and unneeded, badly written. The art isn't bad, but the panel work is hard to follow at times. not a good issue. I'm dropping the series. The first issue, again, the first issue made me think that there was promise, like it couldn't have gotten worse, and that it was only going to get better, and it wasn't that bad to begin with. But this issue is even worse than the first issue, because it's, again, I think the writing got even worse because of certain characters that are present in this issue that weren't present before, and I'm just kind of through with it, I guess I would say. Through with some of the kind of cool elements, like, oh, there's cool blurring effects, but now that I'm reading the second issue, I'm like, but I'm kind of getting tired of these. The newness, the kind of the unique factor of the art is wearing off, and really it's coming across as gimmicky and just, like I said, it distracts from the overall art, and I don't know, I'm just kind of tired of it. I kind of fell for I didn't really super enjoy the first issue, but again, I felt like it had promise, and it's just not living up to the promise. It's getting worse, and that really shocked me because it felt like, sure, some elements are annoying, but they're not gonna, I didn't expect those annoying elements to, like, continue to get worse. I expected they would stay the same, and certain elements like the action and kind of the plot developments would start to develop more. I was wrong. But moving on to DC stuff, let's start out with DC's back issues that I picked up. We have New Talent Showcase. New Talent Showcase was DC's kind of way to show off, this is issue 12, it was their way to show off stories from different select talent, so to speak, especially new talent that they had, that they didn't necessarily want them to work on one of their new hit books, your Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Instead of that, they would do a new talent showcase and basically show off, their talents. And these are anthology books, so you don't have to read issues. You don't have to know what's going on in terms of, lore and all this kind of stuff. What's canon, what's not canon. It's just, fun anthology stories written by new and up-and-coming talent from back in the day. So that's really cool to see. And yeah, I wanted to pick that up. These were super cheap as well. I think $1 as well, 50 cents. Forget if they were $1 or 50 cents. So that was issue 12. Here's issue 13. We have some drag racing stuff going on. Not going to focus on these too much. I haven't read any of these yet, but yeah. Can't pass this up. Can't pass up some classic, DC issues with kind of anthology stories like this. Anthologies like this are always appealing from back in the day because I'm generally just a bigger fan of the writing styles and you could say cliches of storytelling from back in the day, and the fact that I don't have to worry about following what's going on, and I don't have to have read a bunch of other issues from the past is appealing. Here's issue 14 I should say, superhero related. A lot of these aren't superhero related, which is also kind of nice, a breath of fresh air compared to a lot of the stuff that came out back then, and especially the things that come out now from the big two. So yeah. And sci-fi oriented. You got multiple stories of different kinds here as well. Fun advertisements from that day and age, this day and age, and don't want to cover it for too long here. And that's the last of them. No, there's one more here. This one, oh man, I love the cover on this one. I had to pick it up just for the cover alone. And say that the title changed a little bit. Instead of a New Talent Showcase, it's Talent Showcase. And this was in 85. Those other issues were also 85, but this is June of 85 when the name changed. And I believe it stayed that way. I'll put something on screen. Maybe this is a slightly different series or something. I'm pretty sure it's the same series. The content's the same idea. Anthology series. One-off kind of stories and things of that nature, seemingly. So yeah, just wanted to flip through a few pages here. Don't have a lot more to show, but I wanted to show these back issues I got. These are always a lot of fun to pick out and thumb through and read, and it's great finding stuff for only $1. You can't, or 50 cents, dollars. I think these might have been in the 50 cents bin, I forget. But moving on to modern DC, we have Batman 107. I covered Batman 106 before in the last pulls and pickups, and overall, I was let down mostly. It's funny. Things are things are switching around. Marvel disappointed me more this week than DC did. I only got one DC book, but nonetheless, DC did a better job than not all of the stuff I got. Daredevil was still fantastic, and Thor I liked except for the ending, but still, I'm shocked. Things are switching around. Things are switching around. This actually I enjoyed. It wasn't fantastic or anything, but and that's really the question. I wrote a write-up on Comic Geek, so I'll actually read it here. Many of my problems with the last issue either aren't as bad or are mostly rectified here. The real question is whether or not that's because of what this issue did, or if my experiences just felt smoother simply because of the insights granted by issue 106. Firstly, there seems to be either more action or the comic is simply better paced. I can't tell which. The motives behind the characters and their overall associations with one another are clear, and because of that, I think I was able to enjoy this issue more. I also felt like making the backup story here actually pertained to what I'm reading somewhat, made me feel less ripped off. I actually still enjoyed the backup, despite being sour over needing to pay an extra $1 for it. Here's the backup here. And there's still redundancies in both plot elements and arguably entire characters, and things still are sort of slow, but overall I still enjoyed the issue, and I'm not actually dropping the series like I was considering. Things were rough at first, but once the wind started picking up, my doubts started to subside. Maybe this voyage, maybe it'll be worth it after all. Here's that backup story I talked about. Quite silly. You have Ghostmaker, and it's nice because, like I said, it has to do with a character that's actually in the issue you're reading, as opposed to in issue 106, where the backup story there was about Robin, but the fact that Robin isn't in the story and the segment that you read was actually just a piece of Robin. I believe it was Robin issue 1, I think it was. Made it just, feel like an advertisement. It really just was an advertisement, and that's certainly a bummer. But this is a lot better. Having the story actually pertain to a character that's in the comic you're reading, and have it be an actual. What would you say? Have it actually develop a character that you're following is certainly nice to see, and doesn't make it feel as much of a ripoff. It's still kind of too bad that the issues are $5 instead of $4. The excuse is, of course, that they're adding this backup, but from what I've heard, they've actually done this in the past, and over time they've just gotten rid of the backup. They up the price. Then they kept the backup in, and then a year or so later they got rid of the backup and kept the price the same. And some people are theorizing that that's what they're going to do here, and if so, that's pretty stingy, pretty bad. But I enjoyed this issue, so it doesn't actually feel that bad. Yeah, Robin #1. So the last backup story was just an advertisement for that, really. This actually has a plot. It's going to continue in the forthcoming issues. And that's good to see for sure, and I enjoyed it. It's quite cheesy. You got tigers that shoot lasers out of their eyes. Ghostmaker is hunting down a series of his top villains, basically, and on this island that he is at. And yeah, the main story, however, just felt better overall. I mostly talked about it. Harley Quinn, like I said, is the best part of this. She's funny, boisterous, colorful, and had a great appearance. Only like 2 pages though that she's here for. But it's nice that she's kind of an integral and important part of the story, as opposed to just kind of being a character here and there that appears. She seems like she has an actual importance, or is going to have an actual importance in the story, which is nice. The art is great as always. Like I said, there's still redundancies, mostly her. I don't remember her name. I don't care to remember her name, but having a character be at Batman's home base, so to speak, and needing to give Batman directions and tell him the new things that were added to his utility belt and things of that nature is just silly and unneeded. We haven't needed a character to do that for decades. Why do we need one now? Batman, if he commissioned for whatever equipment he had made, like in the past, he wouldn't need someone to tell him what it is. If he made it himself, like he did in the past, he wouldn't need someone to tell him what it is. He doesn't need somebody to tell him directions. I mean, GPS? No. Yeah, he has a GPS in his, Batmobile. He has this speeder bike or whatever that doesn't have some kind of like a GPS functionality in it. I mean, come on. It's an unneeded character. It just kind of fluff. And the bad guys here, not necessarily in this issue specifically, but mostly in 106 we saw, there's quite a few villains that are all kind of in cahoots with one another, and they feel kind of useless as of now. It feels like if they were going to have, Scarecrow, whatever that guy's name is, he has this woman that he's with, and she's bad also, and is involved in the government or whatever. And then there's big reveal there. That's not too much of a really reveal, but so I don't really feel bad showing off. I'll say light spoilers, I guess, in the tag here, but not really. That's the end of this issue. There's backup that I showed off, but yeah, having the main guy that I showed there, and him taking orders from Scarecrow, and then having the guy have this woman that he's with that's tied in with the government of Gotham City, and then having another guy that's friends with the woman that's tied with the government of Gotham City, and then I think he's with someone else too. There's like 5 or 6 guys that are all behind this whole magistrate thing, and it feels like they could have introduced them as time went on, as opposed to just throw 5 characters or whatever all at us at once within these 2 issues so far. So like I said, there's still redundancies and kind of annoying elements, but it definitely got a lot better story-wise. I don't know if it's exactly because, like I said, of what this issue did, or just because I'm getting more used to the characters, and actually I'm able to more enjoy the issue because I'm able to kind of understand more what's going on. I don't exactly know, but either way, I enjoyed it. And there's only one more issue left I have. Moving over to Image, I got one thing from Image here. We have Nocterra. I keep saying Nocturna. I said that in the last polls and pickups. This is almost like Alan Wake, the game, but in comic book form, and kind of mixed with, I don't know what you'd say it's mixed with something else of some sort. And basically, the city has, issue 1 here, the city has fallen into darkness. The sun, the stars, everything. The entire world is shrouded in blackness. And they call it the PM. And each PM that goes by, 1 PM, 2 PM, 3 PM, is years. So 13 PM, 13 years after it starts out with this woman that we follow, her at a young age, 13 years ago, when it all started. And she's talking about, throughout the whole issue, talking about where were you when the PM hit, I think is what it's referred to as. Basically when the sun never came back up again, so to speak, was shrouded in black, and the sky was completely shrouded in black. And 13 years later, basically, here she is, and she runs a transportation kind of service, you could say. She's I forget what they call them, but there's like special names for everything. It's written by Scott Snyder, and it feels like it's written by Scott Snyder. There's other people involved too. I think he's the main writer, though. There might be a secondary writer, I don't know, but I don't really care to know. Nonetheless, it feels like it is. There's a lot of kind of, I don't know, it feels like it's kind of trying to be more intelligent than it really is, but nonetheless it's enjoyable. But everything has code names. I forget what she's called, but she basically transports people to and from locations, and they're basically their protection. Protection from what, though? Well, besides the whole world being plunged into darkness, when the world was plunged into darkness, it caused any living creature, from plants, animals, fish, birds, people, anything that was in this darkness for more than, I believe it was 10 hours is what it said, will completely be absorbed by the darkness and become basically a creature of some kind, an Alan Wake kind of shadow creature. And these shadow creatures, what would you say, the effects of the darkness can occur before that, but it takes 10 hours, I think, for the full transfiguration, or transformation, and transformation. These creatures will try to basically get you and turn you into one. It's almost like zombies mixed with kind of like sludge monsters of some kind. It's silly, but it's played real serious, and there's a lot of kind of cool elements in terms of just kind of it being a cool concept. We've seen it before. It's not like darkness monsters and dark sludge that takes over the world isn't a plot that we've seen before, but the way it's handled and specifically the art design and some of the writing elements are good. It's cheesy at times, some of the writing kind of full of itself, you could say, but it's enjoyable. It really is. And the world design is just cool. There's a lot of cool sci-fi people, as you can see here. It's almost like Blade Runner, walking through this area here. And the plot, I don't know if this is really spoilers because it's only issue 1, so I'll say the main kind of plot driver for the series is that her stepbrother, their step-siblings, her stepbrother here went out into the darkness and got, attacked basically, and has the darkness inside of him. It starts with your gums turn black, and it progresses throughout your body until you completely turn into one of those creatures. So that's cool, and that it happens like that there's like a the writer sat down and planned out certain elements like that. There's other cool things like originally the creatures that were animals and things that turned into the creature, these darkness monsters or whatever, originally they looked like themselves, but over time they started mating with one another. Animals that normally wouldn't mate with one another and creatures and things mated with one another and became new species. So over time, over these 13 years, animals have slowly kind of turned into things that don't even represent animals anymore. And you could say that's just a plot device to have the creatures look freaky looking, but I thought it was cool, and the way it was explained, it made sense. So that was cool to see. And since she was our main woman here, I don't know her name. She's offered money to send 2 people over to a city that's supposedly like the promised land and has a ton of light that they can, because again, they can't be in the darkness. So all these cities are filled with generators and candles and all sorts of stuff like that. And this one area, supposedly this promised land that nobody believes is actually true, including her, supposedly has a ton of generators and solar panels. No, generators and sun lamps, I think is what it's called. Yeah, sun lamps, I think. And she's offered she's paid money to take this guy and his granddaughter, to that location. And she first refuses, but now she needs the money because she's trying to buy a cure for her stepbrother. So she decides to go on the ride, and the story begins. But before it's over, we see that there's this basically man of darkness, as you can see here, that says that the old guy that our main woman is transporting is the one that destroyed the sun. What was it? Shadowed out the sun or something, and is the cause of all this. And he's really cool looking. I mean, pretty awesome. And it's a cool concept. It's cliche and a bit kind of silly at times. Really, the story really feels full of itself, but nonetheless, it was enjoyable because it was done real well. It feels almost like something you'd read, like a more mature version of something you'd read from like Scholastic, like some kind of like, I don't know, fairy tale kind of, I don't know what you want to say, bedtime story, because it has to do with like being afraid of the dark type of thing, but it's done in a more mature way, and it has that kind of cheesy elements, and even some of the way the art design is, it kind of reminds me of that, like Amulet or Bone, but done in a more, mature way, done in a more graphic way. But it works because, like, even though, like I said, it's cliche, it's done well, and there's some cool elements to it. The whole like Blade Runner-esque city where everybody has like weird augmentations and things. It's a cool comic to read. It's a cool world to be in, and I'm excited to read more. Thank you so much for watching. If you're excited to see more of these pulls and pickups, well, there's a button that you can hit. I forget what it's called. Follow. What's that button called? I forget. Anyways, you can hit that button down there. It's red, it's big, it's new feature on YouTube. I forget what it's called. And that will let you know that I'm putting out these videos. and when they're going to come out. Been putting out a lot more lately. Hopefully you've been enjoying that. I thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this, you can hit that like button so I know, and you can also tell me what you liked about it. I'd love to hear comments, and if you didn't enjoy it, please tell me why. I'd love to hear why so I can improve. I can't improve unless I get feedback. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and aloha.